course, the dinner here, I had to change a little bit. Oriental chicken, you know, you could add soy sauce to it and make it a high sodium if you like, but I thought this would be the easier way. Baked chicken, you know, cook it with a little bit of chicken base or vegetable base, because that would be the higher sodium instead of sprinkling salt. With the salt, there's only 40% that's sodium, but with the base, there's a bigger percentage of sodium in it. That's why using the base or the bouillon cubes, that gets you more sodium than using the salt in the cooking. And also cooking the brown rice with broth instead of water. That's going to get a lot of sodium in there. And so is the broccoli. And then I had to add a V8 juice there. I usually say 2 cans of V8 juice gets you some good amount of sodium, you know, if you enjoy it.
How big are cans?
Those 6 ounce little cans.
Yeah, that's what
yeah.
Just making sure we're not.
You get it's 430.
Right, per can, right?
Per can.
Right, exactly. And there's a snack which we had to change a little bit so that you get the 2,000 milligrams through the pretzels and slice of cheese. So with that, you know, we quadrupled the sodium content of the meal without changing too much of the calories in there. So that's just an example, but you tell me a meal and I can give you some ideas on how to turn it into a high sodium. But like I said, keep in mind 2,000 minimum up to 2,500 per meal. And you have a whole wide variety of foods out there that you can mix and match and add it, you know, and have fun with it. So that's my spin of things. Any questions? Yes?
The sugar bottle pots patients, has anybody noticed that sugar?
Okay, not that I heard of.
It can.
It does.
It can.
Okay.
Too much sugar.
A lot of patients that are very affected by caffeine, when you stay away from caffeine, you also become affected by high sugar. You end up acting a lot of times like what you'll see with a hypoglycemic. You end up acting a lot like a hypoglycemic would.
There's actually a type of POTS where that is the main symptom, is the symptoms of hypoglycemia. We actually thought Carrie had that.
So the simple sugars
yeah.
are making it.
Yeah.
Even the breads.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything that has carbohydrate. There's a big article on the Autonomic Society, American Autonomic Society, that actually states that there are a lot of POT patients that show an intolerance to carbohydrates. It can be anything from a piece of bread to a candy bar, but if it has carbohydrates in it, then there's some patients that it just totally throws them.
Okay.
So it can, I guess, but
could be that.
it's all dependent upon your
Yeah,
situation.
okay. Yes, I didn't hear that.
Is that called adrenaline pots? Is that what they?
No, that's something different.
That's even different. Okay.
It often shows itself with the people who have adrenal-based POTS, but it can be its own separate thing. So.
So you would be low in carbo but still high in sodium?
Or maybe more like turn into high fiber carbos.
Or high fiber?
It just depends.
The way that I've dealt with it the most to fight it is you just increase your fiber more. And if you have high fiber, high protein, you can counterbalance and get a little bit of that sugar in.
Right.
For instance, if you're having the pasta, you have the whole wheat pasta, and then you can have a little bit of the extra, you know, you can have the breadstick with your pasta if you're having the whole wheat pasta, but you can't have white noodle pasta.
If that's the case, the fiber is one thing. If you cannot make it in a whole grain, having an extra serving of vegetable.
Right. I was going to say, what they suggest is actually replacing the carbohydrates that are grain-based with vegetable-based carbohydrates. It's difficult for a lot of people, but it's the best thing to do. That's what they say. So there's still so much research that has to be done on it that they
What's
just.
a vegetable-based carbohydrate?
Instead of eating a breadstick, you eat a bell pepper.
You.
Instead of eating a breadstick.
Stop it, man.
Instead of eating a breadstick, you eat, red bell pepper sticks or carrot sticks, or,
Okay. So increase your vegetables,
right?
So that it binds with the rest of the food and not upset your sugars so much. The the USDA guidelines is that we should have about 170 milligrams per day of carbohydrate, and 10% of that should be simple sugar. So it's only like 17 grams. Not a whole lot, as you can tell. Now 170 is the minimum, you know. I usually estimate the carbohydrate, or the sugar is the other way we call it, based on your height and weight and, you know, how well you're able to tolerate. For someone like you, if you have that sugar sensitivity, I would go for about 45% of the calories that you're taking in as sugar, and out of that minimize to like 10% only as the simple sugar. Now the simple sugars are the ones that we get from fruit, sugary beverages, and honey, or sometimes looks like even the white pasta and rice is also not so tolerated.
How much is like 17 grams? Is that like one candy bar, one orange?
17 grams is like 3 teaspoons of sugar, or 17 grams you would get maybe like out of 6 ounces of the sodas. So
Okay.
it's not much.
Right.
Right. Yes.
You're done.
So I guess you do need to look at the sugar on the nutrition label and try to minimize it as much as you can, and have more of the other carbohydrates. One thing I do always stress on when I'm talking about the diet, about high sodium, is that unfortunately all these high processed foods are also going to be high in fat. Really, we don't need the saturated fat or the cholesterol when you're trying to go for the processed foods. So make sure you find the lower fat version of that processed food, like we discussed about the bacon. Instead of regular bacon, go for Canadian or turkey bacon. In the same way, when you're going for deli meats, go for smoked turkey rather than bologna or hot dog. That's where we get a lot of fat.
And one thing for everybody to take the information that Navina is giving and go into your grocery stores and actually use it, it can be sometimes intimidating because sometimes you can't get the information that you're looking for. If you go to the deli to buy your lunch meats per se, and you don't see an actual package in front of you that says this is the sodium content per serving, ask the person behind the counter to look for you. They are there to help you. It might take them a couple of extra minutes to go to the back. Don't be afraid to ask them that. If there's something that you're buying that you think you want, but you're not sure about what it contains, ask the people that are there in your grocery store. That's their job. They don't, if they mind doing it, just ask somebody else. But, take what she's saying and really go into the stores and, sort of take charge.
Or if you're fortunate enough to be one that is a supporter, and if you're fortunate enough to be a patient that has a good supporter, send the supporter on a mission, because that first shopping trip will be a very long shopping trip where you will learn a lot. But you will learn enough that after that, it will be a quicker shopping trip.
Right.
If you are a patient, take an aisle at a time. Today I'm going to learn about deli meat. And then I will buy the rest of my food and I will get out of there. Tomorrow I will learn about chips, and then I will buy what I need to and get out of there. And it'll be a long process, but it'll benefit you in the long run.
Mainly it's just the ready-to-eat store-bought foods. So you're spending an aisle in a few minutes in the soup aisle, and then in the frozen section where you got all the meals ready to go. And so, looking at the store, those aisle, labels, you can tell. Oh, I might find my foods here. Processed foods is mainly what we're looking for here.
So the total is 10.
10,000
So if you've got 2,500 a meal, but you're also taking salt tablets, then you want to make sure that you balance
Well, yes.
salt tablet
Right.
with
If
the
you're
meal,
taking-
or you're gonna
Right. If
overdose,
you're taking
right.
salt tablets, of course, you'll be adjusting your diet based on how many tablets you're able to take in. So,
Have you ever heard of an over-the-counter, I think it's an herbal supplement called, Matt, you might have to help me with this, Natural number 9?
okay. No, I know.
Okay, I went to Vanderbilt and the doctor prescribed it in lieu of salt tablets.
Oh,
And I looked it up and it has salt and other things in it. I haven't received it yet.
okay.
I'm going to corner you and show it to you when it comes in the mail. Just curious if you had heard of it.
Yes, I will be glad to research on that one.
Okay.
With the supplements, because of the purity in the processing, I really don't recommend a whole lot of them. Yeah. So it's interesting to see if, if the physician
She had never
recommended
heard
it.
of making salt capsules, so she was very interested when I told her about that process.
Okay.
She may be switching over.
Yeah.
Okay, I have an question. It's something I, as a supporter, I don't understand very well, but this whole